Hello there, I'm Tim and he's John, and this is How to Murder Time, a podcast about games and things.
Hello, everybody.
Watcher.
It's another week gone.
Yeah.
Well, 2 weeks.
I still can't get over that light.
Yeah.
It's quite... And look, we've done things.
I know. Yeah, I don't have to worry about making sure the camera's level anymore.
Weird zigzaggy thing's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, a big pile over there. Yeah.
And it's not... You haven't set the studio on fire as well, which is nice.
Yeah. No, the studio's not on fire.
I'm not wearing a coat.
I know.
It's
I turned the heating on Wednesday.
some weird spring heatwave thing going on at the moment. Enjoying it while it lasts.
Yeah. I took Friday off. It was great. I sat out in the garden reading books.
It's good times. Yeah. I'm going to crack straight on. I'm going to talk about Neverwinter Nights.
Okay.
Enhanced Edition.
Cutting edge.
Are you aware of Beamdog?
Beamdog.
Yes.
Yes.
This is a company who basically seems to make their primary living by just reworking old Black Isle software from the good old days.
Nice work if you can get it.
Yeah, well, this is different to the stuff that turns up on GOG, because GOG tend to sort of redo the old versions as diamond editions and whatever, but this seems to be reworked from the inside out. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, they've done. You can find Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale and all the other old classics, but they've gotten around to doing Neverwinter Nights now, which was quite a revolutionary title in its time.
It was.
I can't remember the year. It's gone. Help. I don't know.
90...
You reckon 90? I think it was 2000s.
No, it was 2001.
Is something. Maybe, yeah, that kind of era.
Was it one of the Xbox ones?
No. I think this predates the consoles as a thing.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know.
You could have done some research.
I've done no research at all today.
10 years. You should know by now that maybe we should do research.
Yes, it's that kind of era anyway, 2000s. But this one's a complete rework. But I mean, primarily, obviously, so yeah, in terms of the rework that's been done, resolution is the big one.
Of course.
Because back then, 800 by 600 pixels was pretty intense, pretty high res. I mean, I think something were there even 1024 back then? Or that was just like stupid graphic design workstations back then.
All games should get a redo just for resolution, and especially widescreen, like they've just done with
Aspect
Warcraft
ratio,
3.
yeah. This one's
Warcraft 3 just got it, and it's fantastic.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's the big problem, because normal square-based full 3 resolution based on the monitors we had back in the day is relatively easy to scale up after the fact, but doing the aspect ratio, no one had a widescreen monitor back then. That was mad. But now they're all widescreen monitors now, because it's a desktop, and a wide desktop lets you put more bits of virtual paper and things on.
Or
probably.
The fact that all TVs are widescreen
there's telly as
means
well.
that the panels are cheaper.
Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, the graphics. They've not done. I don't know. It is sharper, but they've not gone mad with like working the textures or the polygons or the meshes or anything like that.
You can go too far.
Yeah, I think they have done some work on the engine to enable very high poly models and high resolution textures and stuff, but they've not upped the base content, the actual Neverwinter Nights itself, the campaign.
Are they leaving that to the modders?
Well, yeah, exactly. I think they did released a few little bits and pieces here and there to demonstrate what could be done, or some videos or some such. I didn't really do that research either. But so I think it is capable of a lot more than the old engine could do. But they've made obviously a stylistic choice to try and keep the old style of it all in place, and it does sort of match what I remember very closely. You'll be able to see some video of it going on, I'm sure. But they got some weird depth of field focus effect going on, which I don't remember it ever having in the past.
No, it can't have had that.
No, which is quite interesting. When you sort of mouse wheel in on your character, things further away go blurry, that kind of thing. So,
what did I
see that quite a bit in modern games.
I was playing a game with that, and it was annoying me to bits.
Yeah, you don't know what I'm looking at just because I've zoomed in on the character.
Every time I walked through it, it was.
It can be a bit hit and miss. Yeah.
Wolfenstein. That's the other game I need to talk about. Anyway, I was playing that walking through doors, and it kept doing the focusing on the door frame.
It's it's an interesting effect. I mean, you could just leave everything in focus all at once with a full depth of field.
Yeah.
I mean, but...
Well, that's the problem. Unless you've got eye tracking, it's always going to be annoying.
It's a weird uncanny valley sort of thing. So the models are all the same with their sort of waggly heads while they're talking and the big triangular fist hands and stuff.
I love that era.
But it's all there. I mean, the enhanced edition comes with pretty much all the content from the day. You got the original Neverwinter Nights campaign that came with the thing. There was the Shadow of Undrentide and some sort of Hordes of the Underdark. I think there were two main proper expansions. Then there was a whole load of community competition type DLC that all ships with it as well. I think for a while BioWare were doing a sort of once a month release of the best of the community modules, because this thing back in the day came with an immensely powerful modding. Well, not even modding it came with a construction kit, a toolkit. The base game was designed with the intent that you'd make your own modules and dynamically GM them as well. You can sort of run them in a sort of GM mode and drop monsters in, or deliver exposition on the fly as well. I never did any of that. I had a quick look at the toolkit back in the day. There's no getting around it. Something like that is going to be complicated. It's going to be, you have to spend time and effort putting this stuff together. A lot more so than if you were just doing a pen and paper campaign, because you just write some notes, research some stat blocks for monsters, and off you go. But whereas this, you're essentially building. The difference between creating DMing a Neverwinter Nights module and essentially designing levels for a computer game is very, very small, because essentially that's what you're doing. So yeah, I never really got into that, but I guess it's all there. I haven't really had a look, but I imagine we'll see some fantastic modded stuff coming in. The multiplayer, I think, is the big thing they've done. Because do you remember GameSpy?
Yeah, I remember GameSpy.
Yeah, that was a day. So basically, BioWare had taken the choice back in the day to just outsource the entire networking to GameSpy, and they basically built in a GameSpy.
A lot of games did.
Yeah, it was a large going concern that was very good at doing what it did at the time, but obviously they don't exist anymore. I don't even know when they vanished or what they are now, or even if they exist.
I think they went bankrupt. IGN maybe?
Some sort of web portal bought them or something. But back before social media, as we understand it, is even a thing. But unfortunately, the game client hooked straight into that to provide matchmaking for online gaming and stuff. I mean, there are third-party services out there. I think Game Ranger is one. Back when we were having a go at Icewind Dale, not a sort of enhanced edition, the actual original one off of GOG. We found a service called Game Ranger that essentially provided matchmaking for really old network
that was
games.
clunky.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's still a thing. But fortunately, Neverwinter Nights, they've rebuilt all that internally, and it just works now.
Does it magically use Steam?
I don't know if it's using Steam or whether it's just allowing direct connections. I know whoever's hosting has to do some port forwarding, I think. But But it might be direct connect. But there's a game browser. There's literally an internet, join internet game, and suddenly whoosh, massive list of all sorts of servers all around the world going on there. Interestingly, the persistent and large scale servers, which blew my mind back in the day, that's still a thing. I looked on.
You could do interesting things.
Yeah. There was. So the server browser we had a look at, because we were doing this on a Sunday night as a static, we're going to talk about that as we go, but the server browser list, it capped out at several, I think there were there's about 5 or 6 servers with 96 out of 96 players listing on the lobby. I mean, it's like a mini MMO at that point.
It's all you need from an MMO.
Well, exactly. I mean, what's the difference between 96 players and 3,000 players if you only know some of them anyway? I guess they were sort of publicly accessible, and these from the descriptions, it looked like
servers.
Well, I think the top 3 looked to be all part of the same thing. They all had the same name. One of them was like Aerith Town and Sewers, Aerith Wilderness, Aerith something. I don't know if that was actually the name, but the naming was implied that they were in fact 3 separate servers that were linked together to provide an even larger capacity, and they basically distributed out parts of their game world onto 3 different servers. And I'm pretty sure, now I think about it, that Neverwinter Nights back in the day had the capacity for you to be able to put portals in the world that your character could walk through, which would literally move them to another server. It had a kind of seamless import-export thing to.
Yeah, back in the day, I don't think anyone did anything to impress with it because the internet was a bit of an arse.
And plus, you have to know people who want to join part of your little network and who's curating all of
that.
But and so I'm pretty sure it had the capacity for you to literally walk between servers in your game. Like you say, I think it was massively underutilised. I don't know what that's like today, but from what I gather, looking at the server list, it implies that you've got some degree of at least I'll just save here and reload on the other one, or it might even be literal connectivity. I don't know. But there are people out there running triple 96-player server worlds that you can just presumably join. They weren't passworded either. I mean, the passworded games are in red. These are all in blue. Loads and loads of servers out there with. I mean, it's hard to.
It's probably got more players than quite a few MMOs now.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, sort of just trying to put a ballpark figure on the number of players I saw on that browser list, we're probably talking a couple of thousand in total, split across however many other hosted games going on out there. Interesting. It is an undeniably old school experience. It uses, I think it's not even 3.5 D&D. I think it is the original 3rd edition, because it came along around that kind of time. The Neverwinter Nights engine, the Aurora engine, is it Aurora? I can't remember what no, it was Aurora the other thing. Anyway, the Neverwinter Nights engine went on to be the cornerstone of Knights of the Old Republic. They used that for that. They used it for The Witcher as well, the original Witcher, back when CD Projekt were just a modding company. They basically modded up Neverwinter Nights to make The Witcher 1. And then off the back of that huge success, and GOG as well, they then did their own thing for Witcher 2 and 3 and whatever. Software piracy?
They started selling CDs out the back of car boots.
Blimey.
Car boot sales.
Checkered past. Yeah. But anyway, so then Neverwinter Nights. Yes, the original campaign. We've skipped the original campaign. See, the thing is, back in the day, I played and completed the original campaign. I think I did it with a mage, and it's a big, sprawling, lengthy old thing with intrigue and plots and stuff. It's all set in the Forgotten Realms.
Boring.
The Forgotten Realm serves a very useful purpose. It is the vanilla against which all other interesting things can be contrasted against. No, seriously.
Good worse, could be Greyhawk.
No, that's what you want when you're selling a rules and a game system, which, essentially Forgotten Realms existed to sell 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons, and you want something pretty baseline so that people can get used to the rules. And then your GM goes off and makes this fantastic world all powered by steam-powered crystals or whatever. But anyway, so Forgotten Realms, you start in the city of Neverwinter. There's a plague, a magical plague, and you're working with the authorities to try and work on a cure. But some evil force breaks in and steals all the bits of the cure and scatters them across the city, and then off you go. There's like a big 4-act structure with a prelude, and there was. I seem to remember it was great fun up until the last act, and then the sort of reveal about the big bad was massively underwhelming and quite disappointing. I could have, off the top of my head, thought of 3 or 4 better, big end villains and so on. But anyway, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. There was The Shadows of Untitled, which I bought and never played. This is my first early poisonous experiences with DRM. I bought the 2 expansions as budget re-releasey ones, and they didn't bloody work. Some sort of CD copy protection meant they just did not work. It wasn't like the back of a van or anything. It was proper software I bought from a shop.
It was the
and
bad
it just
days
wasn't
of PC
compatible
gaming.
with the original version that I bought of Neverwinter Nights itself. I don't know if I'd had to have then gone and bought another version of Neverwinter Nights or whatever. It's just a nightmare. So I never saw the expansions despite owning them. So on Sundays we all rolled up characters and we're starting on Shadows of Untitled, which is its own standalone campaign, which gives you another way to go and whole new characters. And so yes, we're students of some dwarf who's been a member of the Harpers and is looking after some evil relics so that they don't get used for evil, and they've all been stolen from him. Destroy the evil relics. Don't just keep them somewhere out of the way.
Put them in the bottom of your bits drawer.
Anyway, predictably enough, the entire faculty was murdered. I think the dwarf gets poisoned, and then we have to rush off and look for a cure and stuff. We're only I think we're still on the first town and the first set of connected zones there, and it's absolute mayhem. I mean, obviously starting off with not having played a very long time, trying to get the hang of the controls they're a bit exotic. It is radial menus all over the place. It is everything you can do is right click radial menu, and you right click on a thing and suddenly eight bubbles appear, and then you right click on one of those bubbles, another 8 appear from there. It's like just everything is on drilled down radial menus, and it's, I don't know, it's not something you see used much elsewhere or since, but it was an interesting and innovative attempt.
There was some quite expensive software out there which does very similar things.
Yeah. I mean, just the inherent complexity of running a Dungeons and Dragons character in a computer game's framework, it is an absolute nightmare. So I'm not sure I could really have thought of a better way to go about doing that. But so getting the hang of how that all works. I picked a wizard, I think, with a familiar that flaps along and shoots things and attacks, and I got my 2 level 1 spells and my cantrips. I'm super powerful.
Joy.
I know. Ray of Frost. Zap! 3 points of damage. Right. And now I'm done until I can sit and have a sandwich.
Magic Missile. Oh, I'll roll a 1.
Yeah. That's the joys of... Well, that's not even a Neverwinter Nights problem. That's just the joys of a Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 wizard. You fire your magic missiles twice and then you have to go and have a sleep for 8 hours, Yeah, does anyone mind if I go and wait in the car park? I fired my 2 spells.
Could you bring me the XP at the end?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be useful in about a year.
Modern incarnations, sort of 4th edition, 5th edition D&D, tend to go with at-will powers or a mana bar type mechanic, very much stolen from computer games. But yeah, back in the day, a wizard was pretty much a one-shot thing. I mean, the wizards were
literally was a one-shot thing.
Yes, slap. Right, okay, now I'm done. The Neverwinter Nights, they get around that by having the resting sort of dynamic. You don't have to go and find an inn and sleep for 8 hours. You just sit on the floor for literally a sort of 10-second countdown.
And have a nice long think about where you went wrong in your career choices.
Yeah, sit down on the floor for 10 seconds and wishing you were a warrior, and then you get up and you've got all your spells ready to go again.
Contemplate the usefulness of axes.
Well, the thing is, when you get to 20th level wizard, you're reshaping reality by thought. So whereas the warrior is just hitting stuff a bit harder still. So it's the whole sort of straight line versus curved power thing. Wizards are a long-term character. If you dig in and go for it, you get there in the end. Assuming you don't get insta-killed by 1 arrow, which can happen at first level. 1d6 for the arrow. Wizard's got 4 hit points.
Yeah, especially if you're playing the original rules where you had to roll for hit points, and 1 was a possibility.
No one makes you roll for initial hit points. That's a thing of sadist GMs. I always let your characters pick the maximum number of hit points at the first level, or they probably won't see second level. Anyway,
and never let them resurrect.
Yeah. So, yeah, getting the hang of the interface, getting the hang of the classes and the look and the feel of it all. And, of course, entirely unfamiliar, because at least with the original campaign, I kind of remember most of it. Whereas this Untitled thing, I'd just seen nothing to do with it all. And it became apparent that... So we managed to get the multiplayer all going. They all rolled up all different sorts of classes and stuff. And there's 4 or 5 of us. And then we had to restart about 2 or 3 times because if you talk to the wrong person before everyone else has finished loading, then it breaks and you don't get some equipment in your inventory. It sort of works for multi. I don't think it scales at all either. There are 5 of us, and any one of us can probably take out all the monsters we're seeing. I want to say it's capable of that kind of sophistication, perhaps, but it depends, I think, on the module construction. I imagine whoever's written the module can probably do clever things with scripting to put extra monsters in if there are certain numbers of players and so on, but I don't know if that's the case with the Shadows of Untitled, or certainly the early intro bits. So we're finding the combat really easy, but it's offset by our spectacular incompetence. We've decided to roll a game where friendly fire is off. We cannot damage each other with our AoE spells.
That's lucky, because fireballs.
That's not default. That's not default in D&D.
How long did it take you to find out that wasn't default?
No, we just knew that was going to be a problem right for the go. So yeah, I think Tefo was hosting, and he just untick. Just not going to happen.
He's quite good at spotting stuff like that.
Yeah, but we still managed to spectacularly grief each other throughout the entire 3-hour first session we were playing. Well, for starters, there's a lot of reading. Now, you come into a modern gamer with your modern aesthetic comes into a game of Neverwinter Nights, and you think, yeah, I've played Path of Exile, I've played Diablo, this is fine, here we go. No, there's a lot of reading. There's a lot of, I mean, we got about 2 rooms in before we came across our first set of riddles, which had us all arguing quite heatedly. I wouldn't say arguing. It was I was being right and everyone else was being wrong, and the real job was me trying to convince everyone else that my answer was right. Anyway,
and did you?
I was right, yeah, and I did. But it was touch and go.
Do you have any friends left?
Not really. No, I lost quite a lot of faction points that situation. Interestingly, so you've got the concept of alignment, which is possibly one of the most stupid things in any gaming system. Yes, it's a kind of 3x3 grid upon which you put your morality and your outlook on life, and you measure it in points.
How would I know how to behave if it isn't put into this box?
It's yes. Almost every rule system and sort of handbook I've seen since the good old days tends to really de-emphasise alignment and explain that it's just a way to help visualise your character. It's not a straitjacket. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Okay. So I went lawful good. Everyone else has gone chaotic neutral.
Yeah, because you always go chaotic neutral because they let you do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. Common fallacies about alignment. Chaotic neutral, I can do whatever I want without being punished. Okay. It's just a big old stupid thing of stupidness.
It's a stupid thing of stupidness.
Yeah, my alignment is stupid on the 2 axes. But interestingly, when you script your modules in Neverwinter Nights, actions and dialogue choices and things you do can key into the alignment system. And in Neverwinter Nights, it runs on a 100-point axis, 50 being the middle, 50 being the middle. So so I'm there minding my own business, and suddenly the actions of your party have shifted your alignment 1 port towards chaos. And I look around and Teppo's bloody stealing the crap crap out of this place, which is ostensibly the sort of little adventurer training academy school we've been living at for the past 10 years. And I just watch, because I picked the wrong alignment, I think, and I'm just watching like, oh no, watching the little chat bar go.
You've got to
chaos,
wonder
chaos,
how
chaos,
people...
evil. Who's doing evil?
You have to wonder how these people fell to evil, and it turns out just standing around the wrong people,
being in the wrong party. Yeah, exactly. Your actions will basically affect and move other people's alignment. You typically get.
Do you end up with a really, really pissed off paladin?
Well, I don't know if we've got a paladin in the group because.
No, he'd have to be lawful good.
Well, yeah, it has to be lawful good, and if he's not lawful good, he loses his powers. So there's some fantastic griefing right there. This is not a game really for pickup grouping.
No.
I don't think.
And yet.
So then you've got all the sorts. Then you've got this weird dynamic where it only seems to let the group leader talk to people.
Okay.
Some people everyone can talk to, but then it sort of freezes everyone else up for dialogue because it's really designed as a single player.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, yes, you can do the group stuff, but for example, everyone else can't talk to the guy whilst one of us is talking to them, and then that person who's talking to them, usually me because I was the group leader, was some people just wouldn't talk to people who weren't the group leader at all. Some key NPCs and stuff, and then you're picking the options and stuff, and they're all going, "Why is the dialogue going through so fast?" Oh, sorry, that's how fast I'm reading the text. So I didn't realise it was all coming up on your screens as well. Yeah, so everyone has to sit around and wait whilst the nominated face of the party has to go and deal with the NPCs and step through the little number
In your
dialogue.
particular party, how many people have English as their second or possibly third language?
Probably 2, I think. Everyone can speak English very well in the party, but it's more. Yeah, I know it's weird. And then someone else will come and talk to them again, and that pops the same dialogue, but there are different choices being made. And oh no, there I go, another 3 points towards chaos. Thank you, free spirits. Yes, well done you. But then things got really awkward because so you start in this village. It's being attacked by kobolds. Oh no, the level 1 foot soldiers of the big bad. In the sorting hierarchy of evil. Right, we'll start you off with kobolds and goblins, and we'll see how you get on. And if you survive all that and gain power, then we'll bring in something a bit.
If you're really lucky, we'll bring in a skeleton.
Ooh, skeleton, everyone. Yeah, in any sane world, you'd immediately open with a beholder, get straight in there, But so we're dealing with kobolds that have attacked the village, and they've run off with the artifact and split off and disappeared. And they've taken hostages.
How?
I don't know, but we're having to go in and sort these hostage situations out, and it just no. So
how many hostages are dead?
Well, so far all of them. We come across I think 3 or 4 different situations where it may be possible to talk your way to a peaceful rest. Oh no, what have you done? 3 points towards chaos, 3 points towards evil. What's wrong with you people? Look, everyone just stand over there. Touch nothing. Yeah, well there's a load of kobolds in an inn that have taken the cook hostage in the kitchen. They built a barricade across the kitchen door. Now you can talk and do the chit chat, diplomacy, persuade, etc. success. Or you can just kick open the barricade, go in and start killing them. Okay. But apparently clicking on the barricade, I didn't know clicking on the barricade would force the situation. So we've decided that, okay, well, we're probably just some sort of fundamentalist, we don't deal with terrorists kind of elite crack team of SEALs or something. But yes, there's been a lot of
death,
collateral damage. I don't know what the acceptable threshold is. I'm thinking of re-rolling and just going straight in with neutral or evil or something and
go neutral and see where you come out.
Well, I think that's a couple of the party have done that. that's their preferred operation. I don't know what my alignment is. Let's just see, shall we? Okay. Yeah. So the combat's a bit confusing because it always was quite drifty.
Yeah.
You sort of click somewhere and you don't immediately run there. It's not like, Path of Exile where you literally drag your character around by holding the mouse and attack. You're essentially delivering instructions and they're being queued up and then dice rolls are happening. So you can click somewhere and your character will eventually wander over there, drift over. We were all trying to work out how to run and it's not. There isn't a run. It's based on how far away you click.
Okay.
So you sort of seem to take the same amount of time to get to any place at all.
I'm sure that solved a lot of problems in the AI.
Yeah. The pathfinding is pretty awful. And I don't imagine Beamdog have been in a position to do anything about that. I mean, pathfinding... that kind of pathfinding typically is middleware, is it?
Well, no. Pathfinding, you're right yourself. But when you're doing that kind of restoration, should we say, there's a question of what do I change and what will completely break the original experience.
I don't mind
and
it being
that
the original
pathfinding would
experience.
be
The original pathfinding wasn't great, no. But it's even worse when you've got 5 actual players all running around as well, because it's also having to deal with incoming instructions from them as well as moving its NPCs to get out of the way and stuff like that. It's just it's a lot slower paced than the sort of comparable experience that we're all used to. The comparable experience we're all used to is Path of Exile, is Diablo 3 and 2 and whatever, which is, where they took that kind of Baldur's Gate format and just dispensed with all the plot and the nonsense and the role-playing and just thought, well, let's just make it about combat and attack. And that's fine. That sort of spun off its own action RPG genre, which is hugely successful and a lot of fun in and of itself. It's trying to wrench the mental gears back to a more considered, take your time experience, which is what Neverwinter Nights really is. Yes, there is combat going on, but there's a lot more besides. There's a lot of reading, there's a lot of thinking about what you're going to do. There's your characters from straight out of the... I mean, your starter character in Path of Exile or Diablo will usually have 2 abilities, punch them in the face and throw a thing at their head. Whereas, your level 1 straight out of character creation wizard or ranger or cleric or whatever has got hundreds of radial drill down options because they're essentially a very faithful recreation of the pen and paper class. So it's going to take a lot of getting used to. I think I probably need to play some extracurricular as well as the static route just to get the hang of it or get me back into not so much the functional dealing with it, being able to play the game, more the mindset of it. I mean, there's a space, there's a pause. Cool. And we've all got the pause button. Oh, God. Oh, it's pause. Who was that? Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. I was trying to jump. Space is pause. You can't actually jump in Neverwinter Nights.
No, of course you can't.
No,
of course you can't.
Because it's all stuck to the floor stuff back in the day. But when you pause, it pauses for everyone. I mean, you can turn that off in your game host settings, which means no one gets to pause. But the way the combat happens, particularly towards the mid and higher game, when there's just so much crazy going on, big spells going off, things happening quite quickly, you often need to pause and issue instructions and then unpause it. Now, imagine that with 5 players or 6 players. And it's pretty... it's a strange thing. I mean, I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong, it all sounds like a massive rant, but it is a lot of fun, but it is quite unlike anything else that happens today, and I suppose in some ways you can see why that sort of experience hasn't really been... I mean, I suppose Divinity Original Sin is number 2. That's a sort of modern take on that style of game, and those are a similar kind of thing. Divinity is a lot of talking, a lot of plot, a lot of character role-playing, as it were, as well as the playing the clicky monsters, use your abilities to kill them game. So... But yeah, one thing I remember from one of the persistent servers I played on a long time ago, there's a wizard spell that's pretty high level, sort of 9 or whatever. Time stop. Yeah. Essentially, you cast a spell, everything except you stops, and you can do what you like, and that's great.
How does the rest of the party?
That's great. A single player game. Yeah, this was a 96 player persistent server, and it stops everyone everywhere on the entire server, whilst this one player gets to do their time stopped actions, and then it unstops. Yeah, you'll be doing your own thing, and suddenly it'll all freeze, and oh my god, it's crashed. But the text chat's carrying on, and there's a little hourglass appears on your character portrait. Okay, these are the sorts of problems, and it was a really elegant and interesting way to bring a proper pen and paper experience to a computer game, but it also brought a lot of problems and a lot of unsolvable dilemmas about how to implement this, that and the other. So it's a fascinating experience, but I think generally there's a reason computer games have moved somewhat away from where they started, which in many cases was the earliest computer games, the earliest role-playing games certainly, were attempts to recreate the old Red Box D&D on a computer. And which is ironic, because I always thought the Red Box D&D was a computer game before computers were around.
Turns out it wasn't.
Well, there you go. But no, we're playing that on. I think we're playing that on Sundays, and it's that's today, isn't it? Yeah. I need to do more practice. Okay, that's all right. I was going to go away and learn what all my spells did. Oh hell. Okay, good.
What enough that was time?
Not yet. No. If I make it that far, I'm going to abuse that mercilessly. I think. But yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of good, really good fun, and also I mean, I think it's mostly going to appeal to people who were there back in the day, certainly. But I'm not sure how it stands up against something like Divinity Original Sin 2 or whatever. But worth a look, and not terribly expensive. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Over to you.
I'm going to talk about a game called Minit.
Minit, okay.
This is a retro-looking, as in it looks like it's a Spectrum game, black and white jobby. Oh yeah. It's, that sprite style of later Spectrum games. With the rounded rocks and everything. Yeah. In it, at the start, you find a cursed sword, which has the unfortunate effect of killing you every 60 seconds. And when you die, you then respawn back in your bed.
Right. Okay.
And so then you have to do a series of tasks in the world, like exploring the world, finding the tasks, and then doing the tasks in no more than 60-second chunks.
Wow.
You can kill yourself at any time.
Yeah. Wow. That's what you have to move a thing, drop it, the die, go find it again, move it a bit further.
No, the tasks are better designed than that. The first one you end up doing is you find this, I think it's a bar building or whatever, and in it somebody's complaining about the number of crabs. So you have to kill 5 crabs, which is easy enough to do. They're just a couple of screens away. Don't kill them, you're done. Mm-hmm. But later on, it might be you're walking through a desert, you'll find a thing, think, okay, I have to kill that thing, I'm going to need to find some stuff. Or there's somebody in the desert who wants some water, so I need to find some water. Oh. So you basically work in your mind this list of tasks that you have to do. As you explore the world, you find more and more objects that you can use, and you get more abilities as well. So one of the first things you unlock is the ability to push rocks. Okay. So you can get into new areas.
Yeah.
And the game expands that way. So there's always a reason to keep going to areas and redoing stuff.
It's like the old sort of Dizzy type, unlocking new areas with different items type puzzle mechanics.
Yeah. Also, it has this fantastic idea. Everywhere's 60 seconds away from your home, right?
Well, it'd have to be, yeah.
But
you have this circle around your house that's 60 seconds of travel wide.
But you find a caravan after quite quickly.
Yeah.
And then the caravan becomes your home so you visit the caravan and then it recenters you there, or you visit the hotel and it recenters you there, and you can go back. So it moves you throughout the map.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit dubious that this mechanic was going to actually be fun.
Yeah.
Because I don't like dying every 60 seconds.
I don't like timed gameplay.
Yeah. Actually, it's incredibly fun. Okay. It's really well put together and designed. I've not had any task which is overly problematic yet. Yeah. I need to finish it, actually. It's a very, very short game to complete the main plot, and I haven't done it yet. So. Mm-hmm. But then afterwards, there's an awful lot of other tasks to do. And it just really works as this little nice idea. It's sort of game jam idea type thing. Yeah. 60 seconds as a
sort of come up with this one clever idea and then run with it, spin it out, see what you can do with it.
Yeah, and it's really fun. I really like it, and I really recommend it. It's on Steam.
Okay. So a decent story to it. Is there a sort of narrative that makes any kind of sense, or is it just?
There's a factory churning out cursed swords. You need to stop them.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And yes, it may not seem like good business sense to churn out cursed swords, but the guy who owns it's evil. He does not really care.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably makes sense in context.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really good. I recommend it.
Excellent. Right. So last time I was talking all about all my different not abandonware, but sort of trying to recapture my youth in a sort of pathetic, desperate attempt to stave off mortality. I'd been looking at 20-year-old games that I quite enjoyed that don't work under Windows 10 anymore.
Yeah.
So yes, GOG are gaining a lot of custom from me these days.
They get a lot of custom from me normally anyway.
It's a useful market, yeah. So it's a valid service. So I ended up picking up Ultima Ascension.
That's the worst of the Ultima games.
Apparently so. Yes, I've done a little bit of research and background reading on it.
You didn't think about starting with 5 or 6?
I've tried.
Maybe then going through 7.
6. No, I understand 7 is the best game ever, but I just
6 is better than 7.
I can't get my head around the top-down spritey graphics. It's just a bit too far back for me. I'm a 3-dimension snob. I'm not ashamed of admitting it. But
no matter how rubbish those 3 dimensions are.
Well, yeah, I had to go and look at the release date for this thing because it is quite clunky, quite old looking. It hasn't aged particularly well. But 1999.
Yeah.
Now, in 1999, what was the state of 3D gaming in general? We had Doom and stuff.
Oh, no, we had Doom for a while.
EverQuest was there.
We were past Half-Life. That was 97, wasn't it?
Okay.
We were past Deus Ex.
But the idea of a sort of open world, sandboxy type of RPG adventure was still fairly new and fairly interesting. And I remember people raving about Ultima at the time.
Ultima's brilliant.
Well, Ultima 9, certainly, in particular.
Well, not 9.
The screenshots were coming out and people were like, oh my god, look at that. It's all in 3D and coloured lighting and stuff like that. I mean, the textures are terrible. It's all laughable animation and a really sort of pokey small world. And it has this really, really short draw distance, which makes everything seem much further away than they actually are. But I quite liked it. It was an interesting and intricate little world full of puzzles and problems to solve and so on. And for some reason, obviously Ultima Underworld 1 and 2 I enjoyed immensely, but I'd never really clicked with the main series. My main introduction to all that was Ultima Online. Oh yeah, you weren't there, man. We were there before Feluca and Trammell. Yeah. We were there at the time when Feluca and Trammell did the split. Basically, Ultima Online had this bit of a problem in that it was a massive playground for psychopaths. They did virtually nothing to stop people killing each other because that was all. It was part of the verisimilitude.
And now look at where we are.
Part of realism, it's a fantasy world where people can make their own decisions and be whoever they want to be. So most people decided they wanted to be insane psychopaths.
Yeah, happens a lot.
There was a lot of killing, and that was just you put up with that because that was the only game in town. If you wanted massively online world-playing game type worlds,
different choices back then could have changed the world.
Yeah, but they sort of realised they had a bit of a problem in that everyone kept leaving the game because people kept killing them and stealing their stuff.
It only kept
not only killing them, but there was all sorts of mechanics in there that allowed you to strand people in places they couldn't escape from as well when you killed them with ghosts and stuff. It went beyond looting their corpse. You could do some quite intricate griefing involved there. But anyway, so they decided, let's split it so that there's half of the world, an alternate dimension where no PvP can happen, and everybody went there en masse, and that kind of killed the game really in the end because all the people who went into the non-PvP bit got really bored quite quickly, and all the people who had to stay in the PvP bit because they wanted to do some PvP couldn't find anyone to PvP. So it was the worst of both worlds for all people, and it all sort of dwindled away a bit. I know it is still going. It's like 20 years. Anniversary. Only just gone free to play.
I sent an email the other week. I thought I should go have a look at that and thought, no, I can't be bothered.
So back then, everyone was super excited about Ultima Online 2, which started to be developed and then sort of foundered and disappeared. And I think instead, or at the same time, we got Ultima 9 Ascension instead.
Yeah.
And I was playing that. Do you remember Pagan? Ultima 8.
That was terrible.
It was terrible because it was
jumping puzzle. They
just filled it with jumpy puzzles and then gave you no reliable way to jump.
They patched in one.
Yeah.
It wasn't a reliable way to jump, it was a better way to jump.
Yeah, before the patch it was a fixed jump and you had to... don't even go there. Anyway, I quite enjoyed Ultima 9 and I think I finished it the one time. Took a really long time to get through. It's quite a lengthy old game. Lots of dungeons to explore, puzzles and traps and monsters and things and spells and all the rest of it, all that good stuff. Quite cute in a way. It's the story of the Avatar's last visit to Britannia, and I can't remember what it was all about because the final cutscene crashed. I completed it, so I've no idea. So obviously I could just go and look on YouTube, but I thought no, let's get it, have another go, and I'm remembering a lot of it, and I've forgotten enough of it for it still to be interesting. So that's good. But yes, I could see there was a lot of problems with it. I mean, for starters, it was a QA nightmare when it came out.
Yeah.
That put a lot of people off, made a lot of people cross. But also, a lot of fans of the main series didn't like it because it essentially just ignored most of the continuity that had come before, threw all that out, and told its own story.
There'd been 20 years of continuity at that point.
The Avatar and the virtues and all the shrines and everything. Yeah, it was a very long-established bit of modern folklore, I suppose, in gaming circles. And then to have the latest instalment just forget all that, would tell our own weird story. You had this Avatar who wasn't really very similar to any of the previous Avatar incarnations, who'd sort of not really remembered any of the stuff he'd done before. Didn't really build on any of it. It was just its own standalone game, and technically it was fascinating at its time. It blew people's minds, the sort of the 3D of it. Obviously not so much nowadays.
Well, it's just a perfect example of you can make something look good, but it still has to be good.
Yeah. There was
Don't forget what you're making.
And the general theme and story of it all, I think, annoyed a lot of people as well. I quite liked it, but then I'd never really had a horse in the Ultima race. It was never really my series. I'd missed most of them, and I couldn't get into the previous ones. So. But no, this is another me not recommending the thing I'm playing to anyone watching at all. It's just very old, very clunky, and I'm enjoying it almost entirely on nostalgia, I think, at the moment. But that's fine. I always buy games with the intention intention of being able to play them over and over forever, and it just irritates me when operating system changes mean that you can't. Yeah, exactly. Unless I got a 486 knocking about in an attic somewhere.
Could be worse. You could use a Mac.
Well, yeah.
They're talking about getting rid of the ability to run 32-bit apps completely.
Wow. Well, yeah, but virtual boxes and emulation and stuff. That's where it needs. That's where it goes. I suppose if you're that deep, but that is pretty hardcore. It's not a casual thing. Yeah. So there you go. Ultimate 9. 2.5 out of 5 stars on GOG, and I agree with that assessment. But it has a place in my heart because I quite enjoyed it, and I'd like to have another go, and I can, and that's fantastic. That's brilliant. That you can actually go and get this stuff and still play it and still relive these memories. Yeah, obviously, you have to then have that internal thing where you have to face up to your own rosy hindsight and assess it in the harsh light of day. But that's all part of getting old, I guess. Do you want to talk about a thing?
I have a confession to make.
Chin up.
I played a game.
Don't worry, you're among friends. I won't judge you.
I played Star Trek Online.
Oh, blimey. Well, I'm quite pleased because you've got a lifetime, haven't you?
No. It does not count on the version I played.
Oh,
blimey. I played the Xbox version.
Oh, yes. How long has that been out? Is that a recent thing?
It's a couple of years now.
Oh, okay. So
it looks like it's been out for about 30. But it's a couple of years.
Okay, what was I thinking of then? Some MMO type experience that it might have been Sea of Thieves or PUBG or something.
Yeah.
PUBG was got a console.
So you think PUBG is everything?
I don't know. It seems to be everything.
It's not an MMO.
No, whatever.
Anyway. Yes, I started playing because it's free to play on the consoles.
Okay.
I thought
it's free to play on PC.
Yeah, it is. Although I have a lifetime on PC, which means I have an awful lot of extra cash as well. But I decided to give it a go because it's available for download, and I was feeling a little bit nostalgic for all of the ships and stuff. And the shipbuilding is quite nice. Yeah, okay. So I installed it, kicked it off, chose a 23rd century Federation starter character.
Is that the old school 60s
original series
stuff? Right, yeah.
Then it put me through a series of missions which were specifically based on original TV episodes.
Okay.
There's a quite nice one which is based on the Galileo 7, which is the story from the original where the Galileo shuttle goes down to a planet, crashes, they can't take off, and then large Yeti people in big furry suits throw spears at them really badly.
Right.
Which they've recreated perfectly because large Yeti things throw spears really badly.
Cool.
Yeah, and then there's another bit where you go to a space station and the telepathic pancakes that stick on the ceiling drop down and go on your back. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, they're there.
Telepathic pancake.
Yeah.
I don't remember the telepathic pancakes. I remember the scrambled egg rock monster. The silicate thing. Yes, no harm I. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, the Horta.
Horta.
I've got Horta Pet.
I think I've got a Horta Pet somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a mission where you can get one.
Yeah, that just seemed like not getting the point.
Trying too hard.
No, you can't enslave it. No, I've got it as a pet. Yeah, okay.
That's a combat pet as well.
Yeah.
You get some research that weaponizes it for full horror.
Yeah. Anyway, of course it's on console, so it's controlling with the controller.
How does that work?
Not too bad, actually.
It's not a hugely hotkey heavy game, generally.
You tend to be pulling a trigger, then having A, B, whatever to do your abilities.
You have a small tray of bridge officer abilities you can fire off, but it's not like EverQuest 2 where you've got like 7 hotbars of 12 items each.
And the combat's sort of third-person shootery, but he's doing all the aiming behind your back. You're just holding down fire, basically.
It is naval combat. They basically stole that
from
on
the ground, even.
Burning Sea.
You're holding down to that, and then the beam comes at your gun at an angle to just hit the person.
Sort of lock onto target type. Okay.
Well, they just picks whoever it feels like.
It's MMO combat, essentially. Rolling dice.
Combat's terrible. Or in space, the combat's better, of course, because
that was always the thing.
That did work quite well, and I quite enjoy it. The whole taking stuff down with phasers and then destroying them with torpedoes. That is the right way around, isn't it?
Yes, you're supposed to knock the shields off with energy weapons, and I never got the hang of that. I just tried to batter them down with beams all the time.
Well, the way I figured, if I
never got the hang of torpedoes,
I might as well just fire the torpedoes whenever I can and the phasers whenever I can.
There are certain sorts of torpedoes that have shield punch through damage. You can just go with an all torpedo build. I can't remember which type.
Because I was in 23rd century, I started off with the world's worst made up Starfleet vessel.
Okay.
Yeah, because the whole Starfleet rearranged the bits, and it managed to rearrange the original Enterprise bits in a way to make the worst looking spaceship
You
ever.
started off with Miranda.
Yeah, no, that's if
or
you
just addition.
I believe that's
stuff
as
on the
if you
side.
do the Next Generation E level starter.
Oh.
Because this one, and then at the end of it, you become a temporal agent and get sent to the future.
The time, yeah. Is it Delta recruits stuff? Is that still a thing? I don't know.
You meet the guy from Enterprise, the temporal agent guy.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Some reason for you to be in the same time period as everyone else.
I'm reasonably sure that if I hadn't picked that starter line, I would get that as a different plot later on, so I can go back in time and do it.
They do,
because I vaguely remember going back in time and doing.
They do sort of rejig a lot of that stuff. They don't throw any content out, but they often
It was nice not having to fight the Borg in the starter mission.
Yeah, that's the traditional present day Federation starter thing. Is your ship gets basically you're some sort of rating or ensign or something, and your whole ship gets murdered by Borg, and you're the one that comes out of it alive, and you get given your own ship afterwards. I think that's the thing.
Yeah,
you should try Klingon starter.
I will at some point, and also the Romulan. Yeah. Then, of course, once I got to the future, I was given a new ship, so I went with the classic movie Enterprise style, because that being the best of all of the ships. And it's just as I remember, although it seems a lot more linear now. It was never the most sandboxy of game.
No, there's a definite progression. I think once you get to max level, then it leaves levels behind and it starts on individual power group faction grinds instead.
Well, looking at this, the first one I looked at, because it's usually a good guide as to how hellish this experience is going to be. I looked at the list of achievements, and they're all literally for going through each individual plot arc.
Yeah, well, there's also there'll be side missions that your tactical officer can do, and then ones that engineer can do, and the science guy can do.
There's no achievements for that or anything, which is good. It doesn't seem to want me to play the game multiple times.
Maybe you're still
there's
on
one to get
introduction.
There's one to get to level 60.
Yes,
on a character, but there's nothing to get 6 characters to level 60.
It doesn't really think in those terms. No,
which other games?
A single player game
have done.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, a single player game would have achievements for playing it over and over lots, but with an MMO, the assumption, I suppose, is that your character, you keep your character, and you go off and do lots of different things with that character.
So far, it is basically giving me the whole: this is a plot arc, do this plot arc now, and it is really presenting. It's really presenting like a single player game.
Well, most successful MMOs these days do. I mean, the problem is that there are very few people. You don't have much in the way of peer group until you hit the end. Because unless a game is brand new, where everyone's all starting together and moving up the ranks together, you're going to find maybe a handful of other players happen to be playing through at the same time as you and are available for potential pickup grouping, but generally don't. Yeah. So you have to recouch the 0 to max level experience as a single player campaign, so that you keep people interested until they can get to a point where there are a large pool of interested players available to do. I'm not
sure that large pool of interested players are grouping together on the Xbox.
Well, I don't know what the dynamic is.
I need to see if I last that long.
There are queues. So the queues there. I mean, it's all to do with queuing for instances with Star Trek Online.
Oh, I haven't seen a single instance so far.
I can't remember what they're called. Fleet actions.
Yeah,
something
fleet
like
actions.
That.
Yeah,
there are a whole bunch of drop-down queues
stuff.
you pick, and you'll probably be eligible for some low-level ones already. And that might be
I haven't actually looked.
Yeah, that's where all the multiplayer gameplay is in that game these days. The idea of bumping into people on a planet and helping them do stuff is just almost unheard of, because the whole thing is instance-based.
And even at Earth Space Dock, it was pretty empty.
Yeah, that's surprising. I mean, that's...
I don't think it's a high-population game.
No, I think it's... Well, partly that, but partly they might all be in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, they're all buggered off too.
There's the most recent, I say new, the most recent content they've done is a big revamp of Deep Space Nine. They've rebuilt it to look like the show, and they've got a load of voice work in from various actors from DS9.
It was terrible before. Have they solved...
I haven't seen it myself.
Because the big problem that it always had, and they patched it once to make it not quite as bad, was all the corridors were the size of cathedrals.
Well, I mean, it's the big sort of circular ring in Deep Space Nine with various rooms hanging off the side. And I don't know if they've redone it. I don't know what it looked like in the show. I can't remember too well.
So I remember you'd walk through the Next Generation Enterprise style corridors, and the door would basically be a door for munchkins in the corner.
I think the ship interiors are all the same as ever. I think.
Why have I shrunk?
Well, yeah, but you spend so little time on your actual ship. It's like some abortive player housing thing they tried to do way back.
The tutorial, you spend quite a lot of time on it because it makes you run to the different places.
Okay.
And then you get back to the ship and then you have to do a bit of mission on your ship.
Well,
Because you've been raided by the Klingon.
Well, I think that's just game architecture in general. Game architecture, particularly third-person games, you don't build for people. You build for people and the hovering camera that's about 10 feet up and behind them at all times. So that can't keep bumping and scraping through the ceiling. So that's why you have corridors and cathedrals.
So far, the game's not too bad. It's not great. I will not say that this is a great game. This is not the best version, and it should be admitted that...
I expect I'll play it again at some point.
I'm playing it on the worst performing of the consoles that it could be played on. Because it's an original launch Xbox One.
Well, I don't know what they've done in terms of the engine.
Funny you should say that.
There have been a few engine upgrades in the time I've been playing it.
From having played it on the Xbox, I can say that what they've done is they've gone for that 90s retro look. There's textures which don't load in. There's animations where someone will walk and then jump to the next animation set and then do the animation. Yeah. It looks really, really, really janky. It's terrible. Like, really pathetically bad.
I don't
remember it being that bad.
Maybe that's just a sort of half-assed port, or they're dealing with some problems with working with the hardware, the limitations. What console are you on?
Xbox One.
Xbox One. Well, that should be up to.
It should be able
to deal with modern PC
it really should be able to deal with it.
Maybe it's just a sort of cut and paste conversion.
It has to be one of the worst looking, although I'm going to regret saying that now because there's some really bad ones, console games out there at the moment.
It's an old base engine. I mean, they've done a lot with textures and lighting since, but
Yeah. So it looks terrible.
Do you get in the feel though? You getting that Star Trek buzz?
Yeah, I'm getting that.
That was something I always enjoyed. I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but I'm versed in the canon, and I've always felt it did a good service to the material, despite perhaps the problems it being an MMO puts on it, and the problems of just the limitations of the hardware and so on. They make the effort. They get the voice actors.
Yeah,
they do some reasonable writing for the sort of episode.
Yeah,
structure.
No, I quite like the plots. Okay, the tutorial one was rehashing a lot of original series Enterprise.
It always does that. It's like it's a lot like Lord of the Rings Online in that any original content they have to write is essentially just homage after homage after homage, and that's what can you do? You don't want to go off and write a culture novel as a side story in a Star Trek Online universe. It has to match the surrounding material.
Yeah, but it had...
So you will see familiar themes and concepts coming up again, but hopefully you enjoy them.
Post-movie Sulu turns up during it and talks to you for a while, and that's great. So he's got an excuse for sounding quite old. And there's Jeffrey Coombs. Actually, thinking about it, that's the reason I decided to go back. So Jeffrey Coombs is going to be voicing
reprising Wayoon. They got a whole load of people. I think it's like 8 or 9 DS9 cast members in on this latest expansion sort of series.
Yeah, I think that once you get one of the cast in, or out of the modern lot, I think you get one of the cast in, and then they tell their friends that actually it was a fun experience.
You probably don't get the big A-list captain or whatever, because that's probably quite hard work. But you probably won't get the occasional B-lister who just hates the show and doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. But most of the rest of the cast are probably quite happy to just drive to San Francisco and do like two days in a recording studio.
Well, I'm not sure they even have to drive. I seem to remember...
Do it all online, I suppose.
Tim Russ said something about doing it from a studio in New York because they're doing something else at the time.
Oh yeah, you just
turn up
hire a nearby studio for an afternoon. You got all the lines written, and presumably you enjoyed the character.
Yeah,
you get to reprise
and once one of them enjoys it, next time they're all together having dinner, they say that was.
And it all goes on the CV as well. It works the profile of it.
It pays you, and it's a fun experience.
Paying gig.
Yeah, it's a paying gig. It's a fun experience. They're not going to do anything horrible, and it's for the fans.
I imagine, for the fans, there's a certain reverence to it, which I imagine wasn't there the first time round when they're all unknowns on a set, just filming a speculative Star Trek show that may or may not go anywhere. People are going to love what's going on there. So, I'm getting a bit all nostalgic for it all myself. Actually. I don't know where I'd fit Star Trek Online into my busy schedule at the moment. But...
Not on Xbox.
Yes, I think I'll go stick with PC. Yeah.
But, it does. So I did answer the question. It does play okay on Xbox from a controls point of view, which is the bit that I thought they were going to have the problem with. I've got
some homework for you. Then I want you to look up the Forge.
The Forge, okay.
So not the Forge in-game thing. That was something to do with Voyager. No. The Forge is essentially their mission creator.
I haven't seen mention of it.
Yeah, well, I'd be fascinated to know if it even exists or is accessible via the console. The PC version, it's there. You just fire up a different part of the client, and suddenly you've got level designer and all this stuff, and you can upload. You can submit your missions.
I haven't seen mention.
They appear on a daily recommended mission list.
But I would take a look.
Ratings.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's missing, because user-generated content tends to go down badly, at least with Sony.
Well, I imagine it's going to be an absolute bloody nightmare trying to create missions using a controller anyway. But
don't forget.
Can you play other people's creative missions?
Don't forget that the Halo 3 had a map editor.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be cumbersome, but it'll be possible.
It was.
So I'd be just fascinated to know if the player creative missions are even a thing.
Yeah,
on the console
I'll also see what the queues are like.
Have a go at some of the crystalline catastrophes. They're a real no-brainer. You can probably jump straight in on that and have a go. I mean, a lot of them have got minimum level requirements. I don't know how far you've got.
I'm getting high.
Yeah,
it's not a slow leveling grind.
But yeah, I mean, to be honest, that is essentially where all the multiplayer content now is in that game. It's all joining fleet action queues for various instances and collecting the special currency out of the back of those. So, but yeah, if you want to play with others, probably Crystalline Catastrophe. That was popped fairly quickly and often and paid pretty well as well. It's a giant crystal thing in the middle. Everyone has to wail on it for like 16.
Actually, I remember it when it was really hard.
With the original Crystalline Catastrophe was you encountered it on the star map, and it was essentially a raid. It was this massive crystal thing that fired off sub-crystals that fired off their own sub-crystals.
And if you didn't know what you were doing, you made it worse for everyone else.
Yeah, I think that was based on the Hamilton raid from City of Heroes, because Cryptic, same company, and the Hamilton raid was something insane as well. Basically, City of Heroes, a city of superheroes, and what passed for raiding content in there was a thing called Hamilton, which I never saw it myself, but it was essentially an amoeba the size of a city block that you all had to come piling in on, and that had sub-nucleuses within it, and it was essentially the same kind of design as that. But it was just really difficult. No one got it done, and so they just redid it as here's a massive tank and spank boss that you just have to wail on and
have fun.
And it is a real no-brainer. It doesn't even matter if you get blown up when it does its predictable rule of 3 energy pulses. If you're not every third of its hit points, you need to get for 10k away or you get insta-killed. Apart from that, go crazy, have fun. Just fire stuff. It's brilliant. That's the kind of thing you want. There are some difficult ones in there and some quite a lot of ground ones as well. But have a go. See what that's like. But whether you get matchmate, is it crossplay?
I don't believe. No, it's not.
Okay. Well, that'd be interesting then. It's a whole different culture.
Yeah, because I was hoping that
there must be some multiplayer lobby thing there, though.
Oh, probably. But no, I was hoping that my lifetime would apply, because
that's mean. Is it the same account, or you had to create a different account?
I linked my Xbox account to my
whatever they should know you've got a lifetime. It must be a different platform holder type issue. I don't know. Who are you paying for your access? Can you pay? Is there a sub?
No. I don't know if there's a sub, but I know I can buy stuff.
They've got cash shop on the console.
But I'm ignoring it in the I can't be asked kind of way, because I'm immune to their cash shop.
Fair enough. So, what did you learn this week?
I learnt this week that if you go to the local Jam Lady's shop outside of her house,
the Jam Lady,
yes, and you
buy a Twin Peaks thing,
no, everyone should go to the local Jam Lady.
Jam Lady.
Everyone in the UK has a local Jam Lady. You just may not know where she lives, and then you get her wild garlic pesto.
Wild garlic pesto.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so middle class.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? then you smother some chicken in it,
and
bake it nicely, and then it's gorgeous.
Yeah. Well,
when you leave, you should probably check to see if you've got any for sale.
Yeah. Do a bit of drive-by.
Yeah.
This week I learned that Amazon pickup lockers are 3 laws safe.
Are they?
Yes, they subscribe to the 3 laws of Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. Right, so I went.
Did you try getting one?
No, it's better than that. I went to pick up my thing.
Okay.
And you type in the number from the email on the little screen, and it wouldn't open the door because I was stood in front of where the door was. It has a little camera in the front, and it told me on the front, please step back. And it wouldn't open the hatch until I was out of being brained way.
Did it open the hatch with enough force to brain you?
It would have. It would have reminded me it was there, but probably wouldn't have knocked me cold. No, but I had to step back out of the way, and then it went open. So, clever enough not to kill the user through action or inaction. See, is that first or second law? Well, whichever. But yes, so it turns out that Amazon drop lockers are certainly cleverer than I am, which is quite humbling. Do your spiel.
You can go along to HannahBurderTime.com where you can find all our previous episodes. Go along to YouTube where you can subscribe to the videos, and that's about it.
Righto, see you next time.
Goodbye.